It's not really the first time my parents have given me kind of bad advice. Like, my parents used to try and help me out a lot, but they would give me advice for a situation that was completely different than what I was actually going through. So I'll never forget when my dad found out that I was sexually activated. That's how you say that, right? I was walking for the door and a condom fell out of my pocket. And I was like trying to catch it and I was like, no. And it like took forever to hit the ground. It was like drifting back and forth. Like the bag from American Beauty. And my dad picks it up and he comes up and he's like, son, I'm going to tell you this once. When you're smoking a joint with your friends, what you want to do is put your fingers at the edge of the joint and inhale through those so you don't catch everyone's herpes. It's good advice and all, but that was our entire sex talk. I mean, it covered some of the basics. But I saw other people's parents and like how tough they were with those kids. Like, I had this friend Brian. His dad was just like the toughest guy in the world. Because I remember Brian was at my house one time and he gave his dad like a little bit of attitude over the phone. It was just like a little bit rude. And I heard through the phone, boy, I will snatch your nuts from your sack. I was like, Jesus Christ, Brian, you gotta get home. I just can't imagine if my dad had been like that with me. I mean, I think I would have done better in school because I'd been like, fellas, I'd love to stay here and smoke weed with you, but I've got to get home because my dad's going to snatch my nuts from my sack. But instead, I was like, this is great. We'll all stay here and inhale through our fingers so we don't catch each other's herpes. It's going to be really good. It's going well. I'm actually very close with my parents because I've lived with them for the last year, and but it's good. My parents are very cool, and we try to find things to do as a family, which is why we started smoking weed together. Because we're all on the same page, you know, we inhale through our fingers and all that. And, the other great thing is for my parents, they're kind of reliving their hippie glory years, and then for me, it's just Wednesday. Whatever. It's interesting though, smoking with the elderly. What happens, my parents do this weird thing is where they take a hit and then hold their breath for like 2 hours. And I was trying to figure out what that was about, but I think I figured out when they were smoking most of their weed in like the roaring 20s. At the speakeasies and whatnot, you know, the weed like really was really weak. It was basically like smoking dirt off the ground because, like, I don't think the roads were paved at that time. And they had to get high just from holding their breath for a long time and cutting off the oxygen to their brain. It's a really cheap way to get high back then. Times were tough, you know. My parents have started texting me, which is really funny. It's fun to see the elderly interact with technology. My dad's really good. He sends me these texts that are really like short. He's a good texter. So he sends short ones like, you catch the game? Question mark. Or like, 420? Question mark. Or like, where that weed at, son? Exclamation point. My mom, on the other hand, sends me like the longest, most drawn-out text. It's so serious. Like, I'll never forget the first time I got a text from my mom. I was taking her to the airport, and I think she was really nervous because I dropped her off and I got back to my car, and there was a text message from my mom on it. And I looked at it, and it was like, "Dear Matthew." She composes all of them, like letters like that. So it was like, "Dear Matthew, by the time you read this, I will already be on the plane. If the worst should happen and we all perish in flames." Text continued. "I want you to know that my will is laminated in the top drawer of the vestibule. Barry Goldbaum is our lawyer, and I'm leaving you my jewelry. I love you. Goodbye." I was like, oh no. I think my mom's hijacking a plane. I should probably text someone about this. I mean, what can you really respond to that? I was just like, look at you texting, you big texter, you. So I grew up in the Bay Area. I'm from Oakland. What's up? Love the East Bay. Recently, though, I haven't been enjoying BART so much. I feel like BART, I don't know, it doesn't run that late, it's getting kind of expensive, and it's fucking filthy. It's so disgusting. A while back they did a study of BART seats to see what was on it, and they took like just a square inch of BART seat to see what was on it, and they found every human bodily fluid imaginable. And they found like combinations of fluids that you wouldn't normally put together, but the most common one they found, it was actually tears. Tears. I was pretty surprised about that, but the next time I was on BART, I looked around and most people were just silently weeping and then taking their own shit and spreading it into a fast. Very, very lucky to have a job right now. Are you guys working? Jobs? Internship? Fellowship? Something? Student internship? Something? Yeah.
Nobody really.
Yeah, no one really knows. I'm actually lucky to have a real job, and a kind of actually. I have a pretty amazing job. I actually review porn on the internet, and that's basically it. I look at porn on the internet. You know, a lot of people aren't as lucky as me to combine their passion with what they do as a living. But I've been really lucky to be able to do that. Leads to some pretty awkward situations looking at porn at work because I'm supposed to remove illegal porn from the internet. So I was being trained by this guy on the first day. The first site I was looking at was www.brutalfisting.com. And it was pretty brutal. Anyway, my boss who's training me comes over and is like rubbing my shoulders, which it was weird at first, but then I actually like my shoulders rubbed when I watch fisting videos, but that's just me. But he's like, don't worry, son, after a while, the fisting gets less brutal. And you know what? He was right. After a while, the fisting gets less brutal. And that's a mantra you guys can all hold on to, you know? If you're having a hard time, feeling you're getting fisted by life, it gets less brutal. After a little while. Really good to have a job, though. I just turned 27 recently. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not really sure, actually. I bet it's like that kind of age where you're not really young anymore, and you're not old yet, and everyone just kind of thinks you're an asshole. But what's going on now at being 27 is that people are really starting to get married. It's like, I feel like everyone I know is getting married. My friends are getting married. My sister recently got married. And it's basically, there's one every weekend. It's like the new bar mitzvah. And for all the Gentiles, those were these really awesome parties we had in middle school that you probably weren't invited to. They were a lot of fun, though. Yeah, they were. Yeah, really good. Anyway, so, you know, even my girlfriend, though, has been, like, putting a little pressure on me to get married, which I just can't really understand. I don't think I'm a very good candidate for marriage. I live with my parents. I have this weird job, and my friend has hemorrhoids. But it's weird because, like, when I was young, I was a pretty romantic kid, and I would actually think about the girl that I would one day marry, you know, and I would just think that she was out there somewhere, like probably in a field, barefoot, hanging clothes on a line. And as I got older and started working with more therapists, we tried to really deconstruct why I was so attracted to women growing up in rural poverty. Because everyone I've dated so far has had a dryer and at least shoes. Except for a few hippie chicks in college. Did you guys like how I slid really casually in there, the fact that I had a girlfriend? I'm sure most of you are going to be pretty disappointed by that. I'm on stage, we kind of have a thing going. But at least I put it in like towards the end of my act, you know? I used to hate when I was single and like talking to a girl, I'm just like, oh, hey, what do you do? And they're like, oh, that's so weird. My boyfriend also has eyebrows.